Hi, I'm Lauren from LSP Actions and welcome to video tutorial number 2 for the LSP Christmas Magic Photoshop Action Collection and the bonuses. In video number 1 I showed you exactly how to download, unzip and install the correct version of these actions into the correct version of your Photoshop, whether you're using Creative Cloud, normal Photoshop or Elements. If in doubt, please watch video number 1. In that video it also show you how to get the actions linked into your side panel here and in color-coded editing order. So if you're in any doubt, please watch video 1. In this tutorial, I'm going to be running through the action sections at a bit of a slower pace, just going through each section and what we're going to include to create a beautiful Magic Christmas mini scene using this beautiful image as an example by Amy Knowles at Slinky Photography. Every image you see edited in these tutorials is by real photographers just like you. So let's dive in and get started. So up here at the top, you have the batch your cookie section. This is for batching actions. You can watch the video tutorial specifically for this section by going to the video tutorial library. So down to the Christmas magic actions. The first actions we have here is Santa's Workbench. These are instant image balancers. So if you find you haven't maybe edited your image first in Lightroom or ACR or Bridge, you haven't you want to balance it out a bit more, at this stage you'd also want to crop. So let's have a look at this section. I'm going to start with on the roof. This is an auto balancer. If the effect is too strong, you can just turn the opacity down. You see it's automatically balanced the image out with the shadows, the highlights and the tones. But I'm just going to turn this one down a little bit there, just because this image, we want to keep that lovely warmth. Let's try another balance. How about mini sleigh ride? This is a little mini automated balancer. It will help your histogram there. I think that looks really, really pretty and a really nice place to start. Next up, we're going to just crop this image in a little bit. Let me just zoom out there. I'm going to hit crop and I'm just going to crop in, keeping the aspect ratio here. If you need to crop out and you're using the newer version of Photoshop, you'll have a generative expand. If you're using old Photoshop, you won't have this. That's if you want to just crop out a little bit there. So let's just crop them in just a touch. And I'm going to fix the background afterwards as well when we get down to the background fixing section, so I'm not too worried about that for now, but do definitely crop at this stage. Get rid of as much of that background as you can to crop in. So now we're on to tweak in a click section. I don't think we need to bring the lights up or down or cool or warm up on this one, but I am going to add a little flash of contrast. A black brush is also created for you when you play these actions, or a white brush depending on the layer, so you can just paint over with a black anywhere you don't want this to show. You see here you have a layer masks attached. White means completely show, black means hide any areas. If the mask is completely black, it means it's hidden, and we'll see that in a moment when we come down here to the brush section. Layer masks are also covered in the first video tutorial. So let's play the lights up brush. You can see a white brush has been created. I'm just going to use the square bracket key to shrink that brush down a little bit. The brush settings I love to use when editing is normal brush mode, 100% opacity and 25% flow. So if you change your brushes to this setting with a nice, soft round brush, nice and soft, you can change the side using the square bracket keys. And I'm just using this to bring some light back to those little faces. And while we're on the subject of these little faces, let's come in and see if we need to do any editing. Now for these actions, for the if you've got any main editing to do, any big editing to do, you're going to want to use one of the main LSP sets, such as Signature Newborn, Cake Smash Cutie, Portrait Studio Vogue. They're all the huge big editing kits. These actions are designed for your Christmas minis, so you don't want to be spending hours on the skin here. You just want to get a really beautiful magical edit. So I'm going to play the exfoliate. This is a quick clean up skin brush, and what this one will do is just going to create a mini fixing layer in a white brush, so we can just paint this on any areas where the skin needs fixing. So you can see, for example, round here, little one has a little bit of dry skin, so we can just rub that over. We're not needing to do a huge edit on these images. You've just got to get them looking great for your clients, for their holiday cards, for prints for the family. So just moving any little things that we don't need to be in the picture. If there's any big items you need to work on, again, you can use a full LSP set, or you could use the fixing layers that we're going to go down to in a minute. You could also do your own manual editing when it comes to spot healing, patching and cloning. But you can see there, these actions have done a nice job at just clearing up the skin. Whoa! Still on the skin section, how about we add twinkling iris? This is going to add that beautiful magic touch to their eyes. When you're eye brightening, especially for images like this, you don't want to really lift up the whites too much. You just want to add some twinkle and sparkle just to the iris, just to the coloured part of the eye. This is very subtle, but you don't want those crazy bright eyes going on here. So I'm just painting that on with a little tiny white brush. If you accidentally come over the skin like this a little bit, you can switch to a black brush by using the little arrow switcher here, or you can X on your keyboard. Remember, white means show, black means hide. We've just lifted those eyes just a little bit. Now we're onto the sharpness. So add the sharp eyes and details brush, and I'm just going to brush this over, just so you can see me dabbing it over there. Any of these areas we want to sharpen up for our subjects. I think hair, eyes, fingers, fabric, anything that you want to add that sharpness to in your image. Rosy Christmas lips and blush, so let's just rose up those cheeks just a little bit. You can see I'm just dabbing this on here, very, very subtle. We don't want big Santa snowman cheeks here. And let's play Face Mask Softy Skin. This is just going to add that dreamy softness to the skin, which is what these lovely Christmas photos are all about. And you can see that it's just softening up, taking away any areas that are a little bit bumpy, a little bit blotchy, or a little bit mottled. And with this baby's legs was just so cute. Okay, just smooth these legs down a little bit. You see that's doing a really nice job of smoothing. You don't want to overdo it, just a little bit. So let's see where we started so far and where we're up to, the skin editing. Should we add a little bit of foundation over the skin just to even those tones? How about the buttery brush foundation? So I'm just going to run this over the skin. And that's just going to add a lovely uniform warmth to the skin. Now we're into the colour section. I'm going to play the Red Rogue Remedy, and I'm just going to use this to paint off any red areas. Well, this won't completely remove the reds, but what it does is it just evens those red tones out in your image. And how about the yellow calm as well, just to take any yellow toning down. I'm just being very gentle with this one, just dabbing it on areas that look perhaps a little yellow. I'm going to play one more light up brush and just brush this on any areas that are looking a teensy bit underexposed at this point. All about drawing attention to our lovely subjects. Still in the colour section, how about the festive crisp blues? This is going to add that lovely, you know, the festive kind of snowflake toning to any blues in your image. So I'm just brushing that over. Perish purple, we have a little bit of purple going on in the background, so I'm just going to dab that over as well. There we see before and after. So next up, how about we fix this background area? I'm using the latest version of Photoshop Creative Cloud. So coming down to the Festive Fix It section here, you have play first, set up the fixing area. It's important to play this one first. It will create a brand new kind of clipped in layer that you can add all your fixing to. At this point you could clone on this layer, you can patch and heal if you want to. It just keeps it separate from all these other layers you've got going on here. Kind of a start over way of doing it. You have Photoshop Content Aware Fix here, which is kind of like LSP Select and Fix with a twist. And then you have the fixing area, the generative fill. You also have just clone, which is old Photoshop only, so it will select a clone stamp for you, and you will need to do that manually because the older versions of Photoshop just did not have this technology when they were created. How about we go and use the generative fill now? If you have this kind of this little free floating tab up here, and you know you're on the newest version of Photoshop, this will work. If in doubt, or if you get error messages, it's not going to work. So make sure you've updated your Photoshop on the latest update on Creative Cloud to get the very best out of this one. To fix, we're going to need to select a fixing tool. You could either select Marquee up here, you could select the Lasso tool, or you could select Patch on the Spot Healing menu. I'm going to select the Polygonal Lasso tool for this one. And I'm going to make a selection of the areas of the background we need to fix. This is great if you have straight lines like this. Hold down Shift and you can make more than one selection. Just make sure you leave a little bit of a gap around the edge of your selection there. I'm going to come over to Patch, still holding down Shift, and use Patch as a selection tool here, just to get this bit of Flicati rug out the way and the floor there. Now we're going to play the Fix an Area Generative Fill, which is new Photoshop, and let's see how it does. So this is just going to work in the background. Photoshop's doing its thing, and let's hope that it does something good. You might get a funky result, in which case you might need to go back to the Photoshop Content Aware fill, stretching, dragging, cloning, anything else, but let's just see. Well, I think it's done a really good job actually. It'll give you 3 options coming up here. At the time, this is at the time of recording the tutorial. Photoshop is always changing, so but depending on when you watch this, it might look a little bit different, but the principle still stands. How about we go for this one here? At this point, you might want to grab a brush set to wide, because you'll see the mask is pretty harsh here, so you can just brush over any areas that you feel the content aware or the generative fill might have added some funky kind of divides. Really nice. What I'm going to do is add another fixing layer now onto the patch tool, and I'm just going to move these areas of banding out the way a little bit. Patch tool is great. You can select an area and drag it to another area, and it won't replace the tones as such, but it will replace the texture. So far before and after, how we're going with this edit. Now you could do all of this a lot faster. I'm taking my time talking through every section. If you were just editing with your Christmas tunes on, you could do this a lot faster. Now we also, in Photoshop Creative Cloud, unfortunately if you are using an older version or Elements, you will not have these options here because they're just not available in your program. But if you have Photoshop Creative Cloud, there's 3 bonuses here for you that I've included. Let's play Blizzard Background Blur. New Photoshop only because it uses subject selection. So this is just playing out, and it's going to add a blur to the background. This background is already slightly blurred because of the shallow depth of field, but what this is going to do, it allows you to add a little bit more blur. So the layers up here, if you can't see your layers panel by the way, and you don't know what on earth I'm on about, you come up to Window and you hit Layers, and that way you can see your layers panel. So underneath the Blizzard Blur layer that's been created, you'll have a little Gaussian blur box. Double click this and you can change the blur as much as you like, and you see it's blur in the background and not your subjects. At this point as well, you may want to go on the subject mask with the white brush, set it to hard, and just add in any areas that are missing. Photoshop's automatic subject selection is good, but it's not always that good. See, it's done a really nice job around the hair and the fluff. It's been very much focusing on that recently, Photoshop content aware subject selection, but sometimes it misses fabric. So I'm just using a black brush to just go around and remove anywhere, and a white brush to add areas back in. So now back down on the Blizzard Blur, let's set it to something a little bit more realistic, just to add a bit more blur to that background. Using a black brush on the blur layer, and if I'm going too fast or if anything seems really strange, you don't have to play the more advanced actions, or just pause and have a go. I think you'll enjoy it. So let's close that group down for a moment and see before and after. We've just added a little blur to the background. And the same for darken background again. If you're using an old version of Photoshop, this won't work. I really recommend upgrading to Creative Cloud. I'm not affiliated in any way. It's just a really, really good program because it comes with all of these cool new tweaks. So background blur, background darken there. I'm just going to inch that up just a teeny bit and just take that off anywhere we don't want to darken. Oh, we're nearly there now. As into the colour brushes, I think actually let's just whiten things up a little bit. So I'm just gone back to colour brush. I've just jumped around a little bit, gone back up there, and I'm just playing the Snow White brush just to dab this around any of the areas we want to lift up and brighten in these whites. Don't paint this one over dark areas, just dab it gently over those whites to give them a little lift. If you're doing all white setups, you might also be interested in the LSP White Linen Photoshop actions. How about Canary Calm, just to, if we're going to go for the white thing, just to take the yellow out of these hats so that they're in that pure white outfit there. If you can hear little voices in the background, it's not coming from out of your window, it's actually coming from my living room. It's a Sunday here and the children are playing. Okay, so we've just added some yellows off there, so we've just made them pure beautiful white for this image. So now we're into a sprinkle of magic. Down here in the Twas the Night Before Christmas section, you have all of these wash finishes. You can play them all by hitting use your story, and it's going to play all of these with the eye turned off next to them. You can just turn on and see which one works, but I'm just going to play a couple. How about we try Donna's Deep and Blue wash, because this is a lovely blue image, so give that blue wash in. A black brush has been selected. I'm just going to take this off the faces because we don't want to cool them down any more than they already are. So you can see there it's added that really lovely deep blue finish. We could also try Prancer Pudding, which is a warm and cosy, leading into a little bit into those purple tones. I'm just going to slide the opacity on that one down just a little bit, and perhaps again using a black brush to take this off the subjects, just a little bit there. A City Edge vignette is going to darken the edges to bring the attention into your subjects, but again you can take this off with black if you wanted to. Taking some of these off the edges because the generative fill did add a little bit of banding to those edges there. But once you've flattened in 16-bit, the banding won't show. You can always head over to the LSP Actions website if you get any banding on any of your images, but it's just how Photoshop is rendering at the time. Now into Sprinkle of Magic, we have Paint on a Glow and apply one of the bonus overlays if you wanted to. So how about for this one, for a little bit of fun, we apply a magic overlay. These come with the actions. Remember, you will need to extract these, unzip them before you use. That's covered in video 1, but otherwise if they're not unzipped after downloading, Photoshop is going to say no file format or parser can be found. So let's have a look at the magic overlays here and decide which one might be nice for this image. How about just Magic Trail overlay 7, and just add a little bit here. That's going to add the overlay in for you after you've placed it, and you also have extra action to whiten the overlay, so I'm just going to play that to whiten it, which helps match this image a little bit more. If you own the Ice Kiss Winter Photoshop Action set, you'll also get snow overlays in there, and that would look really, really cute. You could also add some glitter and bokeh. They do come with this action set, so apply a magic overlay again here, and let's go over to the glowing overlay kit, which is also included. We could add this little magic bokeh bottom here. I'm just going to turn that around, put that in on the top, and hit stop. Again, we could whiten this one, and you can also play with the opacity, just have it showing a little bit or a lot, is entirely up to you. I'm going to play one more wash, just clicking Letters to Santa. This is one of my favourite washes, but I'm going to turn that opacity right down. It's just adding that teensy little kick of warmth. And just adds that little final finish to our image. I'm just going to paint that off our subjects again. notice there's a tiny bit of purple still left on the bottom. Great thing about this is you can just hop about and play these actions as much as you need to. So I'm just going to paint the Perish Purple over, being careful not to go on their skin because we don't want the skin losing any more tone. So I'm just going to paint that over. And there we go. And at any point in the editing you can turn any of these layers on or off if you wanted to, or you can go back and add more, entirely up to you. So let's see where we are, where we started and where we finished. Beautiful crisp blue winter scene, gorgeous image by Amy Knowles at Slinky Photography. Really love this one, been a lovely edit, and we've gone through every section of the Christmas magic, but really the combinations are infinite with this magic set, so it really does depend on your image and what you want to use. You might use every single action, you might just use a couple, depends on the image, depends on the result you want to see, but play around and I think you're really going to enjoy using these. Please do watch the other video tutorials for more in-depth editing about the different sections here and the results you can achieve by using them. You can get these actions over at lsp-actions.com. I'm Lauren, thanks for watching.